And we are live. Welcome back to the Good Glory podcast with me, Kyle Quinn, your host as always. And join me again today is my regular co-host, Chris Nugent. How's it going, Chris?
Not too bad, Kyle. Not too bad. Feeling a bit more positive this week.
Feeling a bit more positive because Erik Ten Hag has finally been announced as Manchester United manager. It feels like it's been a long time coming, but thankfully some good news at last.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good to see. Yeah, I mean the timing of it is probably not a coincidence. As we know after what happened the other day. But um, on a positive note, yeah, absolutely great to see. We've got a new manager. We'll have a direction for next season, and yep, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, we've not been feeling good a lot recently. We're just happy now that we've got something to look forward to. We just wanted to get the season over with and start planning for next season. Because this season is just a dead duck now, really. And we're fed up watching a team of players who are not really trying anymore. Who are not playing for the manager. So we're happy to get a new manager in at last, and someone who we're hoping is going to make some ruthless changes to this football team. Um, I had to laugh at some of the stuff that was coming out in the last day or so. Uh, Erik Ten Hag's appointment has had a mixed reception from the United squad, with some players uphealant and some others underwhelmed. And that's come from Jamie Jackson in the Guardian. Well, I have to say, as a fan, I think I speak on behalf of all the fans that we're actually quite underwhelmed with the players. So I just find it unbelievably arrogant to these footballers. Do they think they have a job for life at United? That they get to choose their own boss and they'll be able to stick around and just no one will ever question them? I just find it absolutely farcical. Do you?
Yeah, it is a little bit rich. You would ask yourself, it's one thing if a team has been successful for many years and won a lot of trophies and players are, established. If you had a team of 11 Ronaldos, you might say, oh well, perhaps he might have a strong opinion on who the manager should be. But most of the guys in the current Man United squad have won absolutely nothing, and they don't look like they're anywhere near winning anything at Man United. So it is a bit rich that they look at a guy who, okay, he maybe hasn't won a Champions League. He maybe hasn't managed one of the top divisions in Europe yet, although, the Eredivisie is not to be sniffed at by any means. And that they look at him and some of those guys who have won absolutely nothing seem to think that their credentials are stronger than his. It's a bit baffling. I can't get my head around that.
Yeah, I think it's about time that the lunatics stop running the asylum. I think the manager needs to be given back control of this football club if we're going to be successful again. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Kyle. I've been banging that drum for a long time, as you know, on this podcast. Never done saying that the problems for me have always went beyond the manager, and what I mean by that is beyond the coaching. More into a manager being allowed to actually have control over who comes in, who goes out, who plays, who doesn't play, who gets a new contract, who doesn't. And that's what's been wrong for a long time. And Ten Hag seems like the type of guy who's saying, no, I want control over these things. I want to shape a squad in the way that I think it should be shaped. And that's going to mean I need to have say into how things are run, not just coaching what I'm given. So, yep, all the signs sound like he is not going to accept anything but what we have been saying for a long time, and most fans are saying that the club needs. So it sounds like Ten Hag's on the same page as all the fans, and yep, let's hope that things shape out the way they look like they're going to.
We'll definitely get on to tactics and formations a bit later in the show, but for now, I'm just going to focus on the coaching staff. Um, it seems as if Chris Arnaz, the American, always has the AirPods in. He's going to be leaving his role as a coach. I imagine Darren Fletcher is going to move upstairs permanently. You're not going to see him on the bench anymore. And Mitchell van der Gag is Ten Hag's regular assistant, and at Ajax is going to come in alongside him. It's important that any coach who has his regular number two with him, no matter where he goes, it's important that that guy always is allowed to come with him. And United
Excuse me.
don't kind of force a number two on him. But it's this the general consensus is that Ten Hag wants to have another person there who has a relationship with both him and United. And there's been plenty of speculation about Steve McLaren, obviously Rene Mullenstein, Jaap Stam, Van Persie, and even Rooney. The Athletic were saying Wayne Rooney was informally proposed as a possibility for our Ten Hag's coaching staff, but Rooney has made it clear he would only leave Derby County for a managerial position. Um, to me, it looks as if it's going to be anyone, it's probably most likely be Steve McLaren. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hearing as well, Kyle. Probably just reading the same articles that you are. That it sounds like McLaren is keen to be involved. Um, like you said, I read that too. That Rooney said that he wouldn't take up a position unless it was a number one position, and I can understand that. You know, he's an up and coming coach. He's got a number one position now. He's young and he wants to improve on that. So I can understand Rooney kind of saying, now he's probably not the right time for me, and I don't want to be an assistant. I think McLaren would probably be very good. I mean, yeah, I guess it's easy to say that he was very successful working under Sir Alex Ferguson, and I guess again it's easy to say, oh, it would be more the same. Obviously, it's going to be a very different setup than it was back then. But McLaren certainly knows the club, and the fact that he wants to come tells me that he cares about the club. He wants to be part of this rebuild. He wants to be part of making the club successful again, like it was when he was there previously. And there's no doubt he's got an absolute wealth of experience around world football, international management, club management. So yeah, I mean his experience can only be a good thing. I guess you would liken it in a sense to, and don't laugh when I say this, to Mike Phelan and Solskjaer, in the sense that Phelan was an older kind of statesman. He had a lot of experience. The difference is that McLaren has a much greater wealth of managerial experience. So I guess he could perform a similar type of role, but have a lot more, you would think, to input. So yeah, I would be happy to see Steve McLaren come in. I have to say, yeah, he was great for United when he was there. So yeah, more than happy to see it. And he speaks really good Dutch as well, I believe.
Yeah, the two of them worked together at FC20. In one spell, I think um, McLaren was a manager and Ten Hag was assistant, and then it was kind of the other way around later on at FC20. Um, we're just talking about the United Eagles there earlier, and Ten Hag he's done an interview with a Dutch newspaper called True, uh, and he was asked about egos and how he handles them, and he says, "quote This is the biggest challenge for every coach at the moment. Those egos are also created by society, aren't they? And they are also necessary to survive in such a world. But I have to make sure they keep working together." So, do you think he's saying the right things there?
Absolutely. I mean, you know what? I guess I know we'll get on and talk more about Ten Hag as we go and talk about formations and tactics and things. But what that's telling me is that he has an understanding, or tries to have an understanding, of man management. I mean, goes out saying every good coach or manager has to have that, of course. But that doesn't mean that they're all equal and that everyone is as good. I guess it's a good thing, the fact that he's trying to understand that these egos kind of, they're not just created by football and within dressing rooms. It's part of society, and you kind of have to live with it to a certain point. I think that's what he's trying to say. So, hopefully some of the guys that maybe would be perceived as being having larger egos would be more difficult, that he might actually be able to get along with them, understand a little bit, and still, to the ultimate aim of getting the best football out of them, which is what his job is. So yeah, he's saying all the right things. He's 100% saying all the right things. Yeah, it all sounds really positive.
And one guy who has a bit of a super ego, doesn't, by his recent interview with Sky Sports, is Harry Maguire. He thinks his place in the side is justified, and there's a reason why two managers are consistently picking him. He doesn't seem to think that he's playing badly at all. Um, and a commentator from Eagle Eyed Football says Ten Hag's biggest decision will be Maguire. And just coming on to that, I read a very worrying set of stats from Who Scored earlier on. It was a real eye opener. How Maguire has committed the most errors leading to an opposition shot on goal of all outfield players since the start of last season's Premier League. He is not alone from Man United as we dive into the worrying stats behind the defence. So, four Man United players make the top 10 of players who've made errors leading to an opposition shot. Wan-Bissaka is 10th, Luke Shaw ninth, Matic is second, and Harry Maguire is top. He's made 7 errors in 62 appearances that have led to shots on goal. We all know he's had a horrendous season. He doesn't seem to realise that himself. I absolutely do not condone any threats that he's received recently. That's totally out of order. But Harry Maguire as a player is clearly struggling. Um, I think every fan I've spoken to says he needs to be stripped of the captaincy. I would go one step further and say that he needs to be sold this summer. How do you feel about it?
I think it's an interesting one. I mean, if we can give a little bit of balance, I mean, talking about how he's reacted to recent criticism with the media and with fans and stuff. I mean, given a bit of balance, I can understand why when somebody's being heavily criticised, they come out and fight their corner and say, I disagree. Probably as much to keep themselves above water, because if you believe everybody criticism you get in your life, it gets you very down. So I can understand why he would come out fighting. So really, in some ways, what he says in interviews, whether that's him actually being delusional or it's just he's sick of criticism and wants to fight his corner, is kind of irrelevant, really. It all comes down to more what you just described there, Kai, which is the stats and how he actually performs on the pitch. And he's not really performing on the pitch. And, you know, I think that at Manchester United, at any top level club, in particular a club like United, I think the manager, the captain needs to lead by example. I'm not saying that means he's flawless and doesn't make mistakes. Every human being will always make mistakes, and footballers are no different. But I think that he needs to have his standards at a much higher level. Uh, of course, it comes down to the manager to enforce that. And up to now, I think Maguire hasn't shown a level that I would consider to be acceptable for Man United. But he's not remotely alone in that. Lots of players have also not been that level. I think that what Ten Hag will likely do, and it's the old adage, but it is fair. It's the only way you can be firm but fair, is to give everybody a clean slate. And I'm sure Ten Hag will very quickly work out who he thinks is good enough and isn't. And if Maguire performs under Ten Hag the way he's been this season, then I'm sure Ten Hag will very quickly say he's not for me. But have to give the guy a chance. Like everybody will get, anybody who stays will get a chance to show what they're worth. But doesn't look right now like Maguire's going to do that. But we'll see. But yeah, I agree with you on current performances. He's not good enough to be captain right now. And yeah, on current performances, you wouldn't argue too much if he left either. Yeah, I would have to agree with you.
Yeah, I think the pressure is just too much for him. I don't think he has the character to be a Man United player, never mind captain. And it's probably best for his own mental health that he goes to maybe a team, maybe back to Leicester or a team like Newcastle, something like that, because he just seems to be really, really struggling now and can't seem to regain his form from 2 seasons ago. And even at his very best, I don't think he's Man United quality, and that's my opinion anyway.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, nobody could argue with that. The performances on the pitch are backing that up. I guess all I'm saying is that Ten Hag will probably give everybody who stays a chance, which you have to do. But Maguire will need to improve a hell of a lot if he's gonna stay.
Well,
I
I
really
hope
think.
that chance is pre-season because I cannot put up with this for another 12 months. I really can't, and he's not the only one in that respect.
Of
Um,
course.
but players who are definitely leaving are Cavani, Pogba, Lingard, Matic, and Mata. Um, Maguire, if I had to choose, he would be one of the people to be sold. I can imagine like Bailly is going to go because he didn't. Phil Jones played ahead of him at Anfield, so he must be absolutely pretty cheesed off at this point. I seen an interaction on social media between Bailly and a fan where a fan wrote on the United Instagram page, uh, start Eric Bailly alongside Varane against Arsenal. And Eric Bailly must have seen this and he responded and said, please, with a laughing face and a praying emoji. So for a player to publicly say that, please play me is very unusual. So I can only imagine, how annoyed you must be because for me he is not our last choice centre back. That's extremely harsh, isn't it? The way he's been treated this season.
Yeah, I think it is. I've always, if I'm honest, Kyle, I've always been lukewarm on by. Not that I don't think he's a good footballer. I do think he is, but he he's never able to stay fit. And I mean, yeah, I mean, on ability, he's certainly not our last choice defender. And you would have to say that given how bad things are, I mean, you and I were both saying weeks ago, and play some more of the young guys. So it goes the same for Bay and other guys who are on the fringes. Give them a chance. They can't do any worse than what we're doing right now. So I would absolutely say give the guy a chance. In terms of the long term, I mean, again, if you want to have a successful club, you can't have people who are constantly unavailable. It's as simple as that. And that for me is why I wouldn't be annoyed if he went. But I think for the short term, why not give him a chance? Give everybody a chance. We're not playing well as it is. So you have to change something. And by on his day can be brilliant. So maybe he'll have one of those days. So I would be be happy enough to see him get a start. Yeah.
It's obviously not down to his injury record because he's been fit all season, and we've seen Phil Jones on numerous occasions now getting opportunities ahead of him. So there's something very strange about that whole situation. Because I would say, talent wise, he's probably our second best centre back behind Varane. So I really don't understand why he's fifth choice. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But I think he's finally going to have enough of this, and he's going to obviously push for a move this summer. And I wouldn't blame him. Another player who is apparently considering his future after being, a substitute for most of the last kind of 2 months is Marcus Rashford. Um, my feeling is that he will probably get another opportunity, another season, due to squad a lack of squad depth. Especially with Greenwood being unavailable. Um, I would say Rashford will get another chance. And I wouldn't be too disappointed if Ten Hag was really ruthless and got rid of Rashford this summer. But I'm going to assume that he would get another year. But if he performs next season how he has performed this season, I really don't see a future for Rashford at Old Trafford.
No, he hasn't been at it at all this season. I mean, if I'm honest, Kyle, I would go so far as to say I don't think Marcus Rashford has, to this point in his career, fulfilled the potential that we think that he has. Um, and I don't know what that's down to at all. Could be numerous things. I don't know, but um, I do think that we are always hoping, and we have always been hoping, because you see glimpses of it, of this outstanding player who has world beating pace and great feet, and can whip a shot. Really, really plenty of power and accuracy, and he's got seems to have a lot of ability, but he goes missing quite often. Um, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say give him a run of games and see how he goes. I do think that at the minute, what and maybe that's what's been often criticised about him is his decision making can be poor. And looking at Ten Hag, and I know we'll start talking about in the shortly about formation and stuff, but certainly Ten Hag's teams, as typical of Dutch teams, they look for good, intelligent footballers. It's not about individuals who have blistering pace. It's about a teamwork, and that will require, to me, a slight change in kind of approach for Rashford. And I think that if he's going to thrive under Ten Hag, you probably have to adapt to that. That less, beat three players, stick at the top corner approach, and more of a, knock the ball around and, put the finishing touches to it. So, yeah, he's another one needs to improve. It'll be interesting, like you say, kind of if he gets that chance, if he's able to adapt to Ten Hag's way of playing. That's what I'm kind of keen to see.
Yeah, well, we've seen after the Liverpool game, Ralph Rangnick is clearly getting more and more angry with his team. His interviews are becoming more blunt. He even said the other night that United are going to make 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 new signings. I can't see that happening in this summer. I don't see 10 signings in one window. I mean, Joe Glazer probably having heart palpitations at even the thought of that. Um, but there is a real chance for a revolution here with basically 6 players leaving on a free, including Lee Grant, and the other ones who I mentioned earlier. And I can imagine people like Bailly will leave, possibly Jones, Wan-Bissaka, even Dean Henderson if he's not favoured. Um, which is quite interesting to see what does happen there. Dean Henderson is someone who Ten Hag wanted to sign on loan in January. So clearly he rates him. And we know that he likes to have a goalkeeper, a sweeper keeper, who comes off his line to participate in possession. And David De Gea isn't overly great with his feet. He's an amazing shot stopper, but his distribution isn't the best. So we're interested to see how it develops. I think he will still stick with De Gea. That's just my hunch. And if that is the case, then Dean Anderson would probably have to go out on loan for another season. Um, what would you do if you were Ten Hag? Who would you go with?
I mean, I think I actually agree with you. I think he'll stick with De Gea, and I think I would for now, as well. So I read or I was watching a video earlier on, Kyle, about Ten Hag. So just been trying to learn bits and pieces about him the last couple of days, and it was in Dutch, like subtitles. It was from a couple of years ago at Ajax. Van de Beek was still at the club at that point in time, and they were asking him about his approach to management and how he felt when he first came into the club versus being there for a couple of years. And he basically said, it takes a while for players to kind of adapt to your way of going. Obviously, for them to kind of accept your methods or accept what you say as being a good idea, kind of thing. You have to win them round. That's just human nature. And so for that reason, I think that he's not going to go day one and say, right, I'm going to start playing my style of football day one, throw everything out the window what's happened before, and pretend it never happened. I think there's going to obviously be a bit of a transition period, and certainly while we're sorting out our defense, or our team defensively in general, we're frail. We're very frail, and you need a good shot stopper because it's your last line of defense. So I think while that transition's going on, it would be crazy to throw out the best shot stopper in the league. On his day, the best shot stopper in the world. So I don't see why he would get rid of De Gea. In my opinion, if you're swapping players out of the team, De Gea would be one of the last ones you take out whenever you're happy with how the rest of the team's playing. That would be my opinion. So yeah, I can see him sticking with De Gea, and I think it makes sense in the short term at least, for to do that. Yep,
And De Gea is certainly one of the better characters in the dressing room as well. And certainly hasn't been at fault for our problems this season. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him stick with him. Ralf Rangnick, I would say, is certainly got his eyes open to the players who lack the character to be Man United players, the players who have down tools, and no doubt he'll be telling Ten Hag directly who can trust and who he can't trust. So that'll certainly be very interesting to see if we can find out more about this as the summer develops.
absolutely.
Um, as well as obviously signing new players and letting players go, there is, of course, an opportunity for the youngsters at United to kind of move to the next level under Ten Hag. I mean, at Ajax is probably the most famous club in the world for nurturing talent and blood and youth. And Ten Hag's time at the club has been no different. So, according to the Times, they've been saying that United believe Ten Hag will be able to nurture the raw talents of Hannibal Mabry, Alejandro Garnacho, and Anthony Alanga, and obviously James Garner, who will be coming back from Nottingham Forest. So during the preseason tour, it's a real opportunity for these guys to impress the new manager and get themselves into the team come August, because under the average coach, and even just take kind of Ranić or Solskjaer or Mourinho, if you're a really young player, the chances are you're not going to be in the starting 11 in mid August. But with a Dutch manager like Van Gaal or Ten Hag, there's a real opportunity for young players who are even 17, 18 to find themselves in the starting 11. So it's exciting times for them, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. And everything I've seen of those guys, well, I've seen more of Hannibal and Alang, obviously, and they both really, really impressed me. The other two guys, Garnacho and sorry, I missed who you said the
James
other one,
Garner.
James Garner. Yeah, I've seen a wee bit less of those guys, but I believe they're really they're really top quality footballers. Yeah, I think it's good opportunity for them to get a chance. 100%. Um, like I said, uh, yeah, I think it's an opportunity for them. But as I was saying earlier, talking about Ten Hag, and I get the vibe that he's about systems as much as individuals, and I think that's what all good clubs should be about anyway. And young players are good for that because there should be a bit more moldable, less set in their ways, and they'd be able to mold them into a part of a bigger group that kind of functions as a system, as opposed to individuals. So yeah, well, I think they want to impress. I think what they need to show him is that they can fit into the system and be a vital cog in the system, as well as showing that they've got ability to show that little bit of class when it's needed. All those guys, like I say, I've seen less of a couple of them, seen that they do have that ability. So yeah, it's a great chance for them, Kyle. And I mean, I think if they're able to fit into his system, I think that those are the kind of guys that will he will lap up and they could really thrive and do really well.
Yeah, and if I could liken James Garner to any United player of the past, it would probably be David Beckham. Not exactly the same, but his passing range, his quality from set pieces, and his ability to score goals, just reminds me of Beckham. If he reaches that level, then we really are on to a winner.
It's
Let's hope that.
lofty praise indeed.
I'm sure I'll get a bit of stick for that one, um, but I'll be the one who'll be laughing in the end. Yeah, definitely. We're going to see new faces in the team next season, and we might see the return of an old face. Donny van der Beek. There's a real opportunity for him now. I mean, we were saying this, a year ago, 18 months ago, that his only hope to get back into the United team is if Ten Hag comes along, and that's what's transpired.
Is he being signed along with Ten Hag? Is he?
It'll probably feel like it to some people because it doesn't feel like he's even played for United, even though he's
No,
been there 2 years.
no, absolutely not. And again, not that to keep talking about it, but yeah, what I was watching, interviews and stuff with Ten Hag earlier, you see and watching videos of the Ajax team playing on him, how vital Van de Beek was actually. I'd seen plenty of him before, but just you nearly forget with time. But just reminded me again just how good quality the guy is. His finishing's good, everything about him is brilliant, and he hasn't lost that. He just for whatever reason. Two managers at Man United haven't thought that they thought he fitted in or was good enough for them, but certainly Ten Hag will obviously be seeing he's a vital key player. So yeah, again, it'd be nice to see him come back in and into a system that hopefully will be familiar to him and a way of playing and a way of training. Yeah, it should be a dream come true. I'm sure Van de Beek's probably been praying for this since for the last season or two. So yeah, it's definitely good news for him.
Yeah, because I'm sure he's not enjoying life very much at Everton, given their position in the table, and I think he's been injured recently, and so yeah, I don't think he's going to want to join Everton in the Championship. So he'll be happy to see Ten Hag come to Old Trafford, and probably knows that he'll get an opportunity. I think um, was it last year? I think Ten Hag was asked about Van der Beek's lack of opportunities at United, and I think he called it a crime. So it does sound very good for Donny, and we'll certainly get on to formations very soon. So a couple of players that we've been linked with, of course, is Antonio Rudiger, the Chelsea defender, who's out of contract. Um, if Real Madrid are in the market for him and we're in the Europa Conference League, I just could not possibly see that happening. Uh, Even though one of his advisors um, put something up on Instagram earlier saying, "Let's see if I can help revive the sleeping giant." Hashtag glory glory, and the backdrop was a picture of Sir Alex with three champagne bottles at Old Trafford, and he's one of Rudiger's advisors. I, I just I'm sure it's natural for players to have talks with multiple clubs before they make a decision, especially when you're a free agent. But it just wouldn't make any logical sense for Rudiger to come to Old Trafford if he has offers from Champions League clubs, does it?
You wouldn't think so. I mean, I suppose what you'd worry about would be that he's only using United because he knows they pay well to get a good contract somewhere else. So that would be the cynic in me would say that. If it was to be a bit more hopeful, what I would say is that maybe and very just maybe that although I can't remember what age Rudiger is, but
28.
some 28. So he's right in his prime. So he probably will want to move to a club like Madrid. I do think sometimes that maybe younger players or players who are maybe feel like it's not last chance saloon. Sometimes prefer a challenge, over going to somewhere, where they're going to be a small fish in a big pond. And sometimes they maybe like a challenge and the thought that, they can be part of something great that, and if Ten Hag is able to build something great, some guys might think, oh, I'd like to get in the ground floor level with this guy and, be part of this, it can be a great story and, a great defining moment for their career. But at 28, you're probably thinking it's my last big contract. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just says I want to go to somewhere where there's no risk. So yeah, the cynic of me would say he's maybe using it to get a good deal, but I hope I'm wrong. I mean, he's a good player, so I hope I'm wrong. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't really see that happening. I think it's more likely to be someone like Pau Torres from Villarreal, um, who who is someone who played against us in the Europa League final last year. Obviously, he was victorious, and now he's in the Champions League semi-finals with Villarreal, who recently knocked out Bayern Munich. So, and he's a Spanish international, so he's obviously doing something right to achieve those things with a club like Villarreal. I think he's a local boy there, but I'm sure he'll want to move on at some point. He's 25, and I think United, basically United's top two targets last summer were Varane and Pau Torres. They got Varane, so maybe they'll go after the next guy on the list this summer and partner them up together. You know, that'd be the ideal scenario. Definitely would be improvement on Maguire and Lindelof at the back, which I'm really sick looking at now, to be honest with you. Um, so another player who probably the player who's been linked the strongest at the minute with United is Calvin Phillips, the Leeds midfielder, defensive midfielder, who's an England international, played a key role in them getting to the nearly winning the Euros last summer. Um, yeah, he's very much a defensive midfielder, very much a number six. Someone who lets you get stuck in, something that we've probably lacked quite a lot at Old Trafford. We lacked a real specialist defensive midfielder. Um, probably wouldn't have been most people's first choice. That would have been Declan Rice. But I mean, if West Ham are quoting 150 million, that is just not going to happen. So, how do you feel about the possibility of United's signing Calvin Phillips for say 50, 60 million?
Yeah, it seems to me like pretty good business, Kyle. Yeah, I remember watching Calvin Phillips in the in the Euros, and I thought he was pretty good. Yeah, I liked him. You know, he's very kind of agile, quick, combative type of midfielder. You know, I liked a lot of what I saw from him. I thought he had a lot of ability. Like you say, you know, people would argue that Declan Rice is the marquee name, but it's the usual story. You know, every time United are interested in somebody, you know, the value just seems to go up, you know, ridiculously out of proportion. And if we've learned nothing else over the last few years, we've learned that going for the marquee name is not by any means the right way to go all the time. We've been burned by that plenty in the last 10 years. So I don't think that we should just chase the big name because they seem to be the hot ticket. And I think we've also learned that you know, a good team, again, coming back to Ten Hag, and talk, you know, and looking at Klopp and Guardiola and teams like that, you know, a team's greater than the sum of its parts. So I think Calvin Phillips looks like a good quality player who could fit into to a good unit, and could be a kind of a vital cog. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to see him come in. I think he's got a lot of ability. He's well suited the Premier League. You know, he's tough. He works really hard, and he's a good footballer. So yeah, I'd be more than happy with him. And like you said, I mean, if it was the same value, him or Rice, you'd say, oh well, I'll take Declan Rice. But you know, if it's ridiculous amounts, so 150 million versus 50, Rice isn't worth 150 million. So yeah, you know, I'd take Phillips all day long.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see who's going to go out and who's going to come in, and which young players are going to make their way into the starting 11. I'm hoping by the 1st of September 2023 that 85% of the current squad are gone, because I think the whole place needs gutted, because these players have been letting us down for far too many years. Some of them more than others, of course, but they're not winners. They're never going to be. They're always going to have. They're not. They can't be rehabilitated because they'll always believe now that if they feel they don't believe in the manager, they can get rid of him. So we can't trust these players anymore. So they all have to go and be replaced. Well, the vast majority of them anyway. I think you're going to love this quote from Ten Hag. Another quote from his interview with True today in Holland, where he says, "Having a say in transfers is a condition for me. I make demands in advance before I arrive. If the club doesn't grant them, I won't take the job. We'll work together, but I am the one responsible." How do you feel about that?
It sounds great. It sounds absolutely great. Um, and it sounds like if he's taken the job, then that those demands have been met. So yeah, let's hope that they continue to be met. Um, yeah, it all sounds like the right messages. You know, and everything that I'm hearing dictates that he's not in football for the money. You know, he's in the football for the love of it and for the glory. Let's be honest, which is what we all want. So it sounds like he's in it because he's ambitious and he enjoys it and he's passionate. Um, so yeah, it sounds to me like he's going to try and shape the club the way that it should be run. Um, yep, and I just hope that it pans out that way and that he continues to get his demands and he's able to shape things the way he needs to. I mean, that's how it should be run, 100%.
And he also said, when he was asked about working with Cristiano Ronaldo and other superstars, he said, I will stay myself in that. I won't change my vision. I will tell them their task, and whoever does not meet those tasks will hear that from me, no matter who it is. So, yeah, he continues to say the right things. Let's just hope that he's able to carry out these things and becomes a success at Old Trafford. And like just one of the comments there from Nivy, Ten Hag interview is so good, gives me hope. Let's see. Just need to be patient with this guy. Absolutely. To see if we finish even fifth next season, the Glazers just can't turn around and sack him. This he has to be given time, because even Jurgen Klopp finished eighth in his first season. I don't think he won a trophy in his first 4 years at Liverpool. So, and I think Guardiola, he finished fourth, I think, in his first season, didn't win anything to the second season. So, and he's obviously also got the biggest budget in world football. So you have to be patient with this guy. He's no way is he going to turn us into Premier League winners in 1 or 2 seasons. This is a long term project, isn't it?
It has to be, Kyle. Like it's like I've been saying this as you know to you privately and on this podcast, for as long as I've been on here, is that managers have to be given time. They just have to be. People in football, myself included, all fans, we got very short memories. In the old saying, you're only as good as your last game. People tend to remember, the most recent thing, what you won last season. And that applies to success as well as failure. People tend to, like you say, you look at the likes of Jurgen Klopp, didn't win anything for 4 years. People would easily forget that and say, oh, no, from the moment they arrived, he was top class and, look at the job he's done. But yeah, if you really want to be successful, you need time. You can't turn it around overnight. And Manchester United are not, despite finishing second last season, where most people thought that was a platform. I mean, we have gone so far down, since that. The job is absolutely massive. I mean, we, as Gary Neville and everybody said, we are a million miles off challenging for titles. I would take finishing fifth. I would take finishing the same position and playing really good football and losing by bad refereeing decisions and the odd, fluke goal or, the rub of the green not going your way, because at least you're competitive and you're trying. I mean, that to me would even be an improvement with no points improvement. Just the look of the team and the endeavour in the team, that would be an improvement in itself. So yeah, I'm not expecting him to come out and win a league. Actually, I was surprised. The only person I've seen recently that seemed to talk a bit more about pressure, I don't really know why he said it, was actually Yap Stam this week. I seen quoted said something about at Man United, you're not, you kind of, clubs that level, you have to be winning titles, and it was almost like he won't, he shouldn't be given time, or he won't get time, and he's the only person that I've seen said that. I thought that was kind of strange because yeah, you and I and everybody else that I see, even fans who people think were impatient, are willing to give him time. So he absolutely needs time. I can't find it hard to see that anybody would disagree with that. So yeah, I hope he gets it.
Maybe Yap is still viewing United from the lens of his playing days. I think we need to get a
Maybe so,
reality
yeah.
check and realize we're not there anymore. We're basically now Liverpool from the Spice Boys era of 1996. That's where we are right now. So it's going to be, obviously, hope it doesn't take that long to get back to winning Premier Leagues, but it has to be a process anyway. Um, yeah, so we're going to get on to some formations and stuff now, and predicted 11s and things like that. So Ten Hag he usually plays a 4-2-3-1 formation. Only sometimes there's a 4-3-3. So we'll take a look at who we think will fit into his 4-2-3-1 formation. He usually plays a number. His two midfielders there are usually a number 6 and a number 8, and I've noticed that Van der Beek has played as the number 8, but also as a number 10 in in Ten Hag systems in the past. So that's quite interesting. So it means that him and Bruno could fit into the same team, which Solskjaer obviously thought couldn't happen. But we'll wait and see how that turns out. But in terms of goalkeeper, yeah, we're sticking with De Gea. The fullbacks now, I don't think we have a top fullback at the club. There are doubts about every single one of them, so that's something that's going to have to be looked at. We're going to have to try and sign at least one of them. I seen, I think it was the Athletic were saying that Ten Hag will look to try and sign a versatile fullback because there are doubts about all four of them at the club. And signing get considering the amount of signs we're going to have to make, signing two fullbacks this summer might be a huge task. So yeah, I'm not really sure. So right back, I'm going to say a new signing. Centre back, I'm going to say Varane, and alongside him, it's going to be new signing. Left back, I think it'll probably be Shaw next season. I know that will certainly be a situation that might change in the future. Um, Defensive midfielder and the number six will be a new signing, I think for sure. Um, the number eight, I would say, will be Donny van der Beek. Um, then left wing would be Jadon Sancho, I think. Number 10 would probably be Bruno Fernandes. Right wing, I would say possibly a new signing, maybe even Anthony, the young Brazilian right winger at Ajax. And then centre forward, it'll be Ronaldo or a new signing. So what do you think?
Um, yeah, no, I think that's interesting. I think yes, right back probably a new signing. I don't think that Wan-Bissaka has enough going forward. I think we've been saying that for a long, long time. So, um, yeah, I'm not sure that he's gonna fit in. Centre back, yep, Varane is bound to stay, and yeah, arguably a new signing as well. Left back, yeah, potentially Luke Shaw. I mean, I don't. I know you disagree, Mika. I don't completely dislike Tellez. Excuse me. I do think he's got a lot to learn. But Ten Hag's a good coach, and in many ways, Tellez has got a lot of the attributes that a new coach might want. He's tenacious. He works really hard. He looks very fit. He keeps himself in good shape. He's the kind of guy you think, he honed his skills a little bit. He maybe could be something that you'd want to keep. So I for now I wouldn't totally write him off. In the number six position, did you say a new Simon? Did you say for number six?
Yes,
Yeah. You don't think Fred warrants a chance?
he's not a number six. If he's going to play, he's going to be the number eight. And I'm hoping that he will just be a squad player.
I think he probably will be a squad player. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think in the short term he would probably be who you'd want to, or he might pick as a number six. But I think yeah, long term you probably want somebody else. Excuse me, Van de Beek number 8, 100%. It's kind of a no brainer really. Left wing, Jadon Sancho. Yeah, it seems to be that's what his best position is. I think we haven't seen anybody the best of him. Um, on the right hand side, yeah, so Bruno Fernandes is number 10. I think that's pretty obvious. On the right hand side, yeah, interesting. You were saying there, Anthony. So you don't think Rashford, you don't think even Alanga, you don't think any of the current guys, or even Hannibal or somebody new could come in and do a job there? Do you think we need to just go out and grab somebody immediately?
Well, if he was to bring in a new signing to play in that position, I would imagine that player will be an automatic starter. Rashford on the right, it's not his best position. His best position is actually on the left when he's playing well. He very rarely plays well on the right hand side. Ilanga is still a very raw talent at this moment. He's not someone that I would consider uh, to be in the United's first team right now. He's still a squad player for me. So yeah,
No, I think that's fair.
I would go with
Sorry, go ahead.
the new sign in that position if we make one.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. It was just out of interest. I mean, I quite like a Lang up front as well. Yeah, I think he's got, although he's not going to start over Ronaldo, of course, but I think he's in the future he offers a lot. Yeah, he's a great young player. Um, yeah, no, I mean it's hard to, as you see, there go through. It's hard to argue with you. I mean, I guess it's hard to know kind of what's realistic versus what we want. I wouldn't disagree with you there about what we want. Um, yeah, I think you named who would stay, and where you'd want somebody else to sign, and I think those are all fair. Um, yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how it actually plays out.
With regards to Tellers, though, yeah, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree.
I thought
I,
you
w-
might.
I was what's the Norwich game recently where we won 3-2, when it was just the Ronaldo show, got us out of jail again. Tellez was absolutely abysmal on the day. I think he obviously provided the assist from a corner for Ronaldo, which he's done before. I think that's his best attribute is kind of set pieces, and he provides the odd good delivery. But his primary position is a defender, and he can't even do the basics. His positional play is terrible. I think he was basically at fault for both goals against Norwich, along with other people. Take the first goal where I think Dallo was easily beaten by the winger. Then the cross comes in, and Tellers is far too narrow. And Norwich's right winger is able just to easily head in unmarked at the far post. Then the second goal, Norwich comes straight through the middle, and the ball is played into Pookie on the right, and Tellers is absolutely nowhere near him, and even doesn't even bust a gut really to get back and make a last ditch challenge on Pookie. He was just totally out of position, and we've seen this from Tellez on numerous occasions. I don't really rate Luke Shaw as a defender, and I actually think he is slightly better than Tellez when it comes to defending. Tellez, all the strong points are on the other end of the pitch, and even then, I don't think he's a world class attacking fullback. But as a defender, he's absolutely shambolic, to be honest with you.
No, I think I think that's fair, and I don't disagree with your assessment of his performances. I think you're what you're saying is absolutely right. I guess where I slightly differ is that I look at the attributes that he does have, and I think that there's something you could work with there compared to some of the other players who I think are kind of lost causes, and it's a cut the losses time. With Tellez, I think he's somebody you want to give a chance to with enough coaching. Maybe he could learn that positional play a little bit better and hone that side of his game. He's pretty young. A lot of players start off and they're a bit raw, and they they learn over time. So I guess that's where it differ. Your assessment performances are bang on. I guess I say I think I've seen enough of him to think, maybe if you're a manager, you might say, I'll try and coach this guy, see if I can improve him, and if not, fair enough. Whereas some of the other guys, you would say, nah, it's never going to happen at this point.
Yeah, he's 29 now, though. I'm not sure if he can learn kind of new tricks at this point. But
I actually thought he
if
was
he,
younger than that. He must just be fresh faced.
if he was to succeed in the United team, he would have to be part of a back five. I think he'd have to play as a wing back because his defensive frailties are so bad. I don't think he could ever succeed in a back four. As a wing back, maybe, but I don't see Ten Hag playing that formation.
That's
So
fair.
if he doesn't make a signing at left back, my hunch is that he will go with Luke Shaw for now until he's able to make a signing in that position. Unless, of course, he turns Luke Shaw into a world class player, and gets him back to the form that we seen at the Euros at United before that. But we'll wait and see how it turns out, because we can't get rid of absolutely everybody. That's just not how it works. It's going
Not,
to take
not,
time.
not exactly. Not in the short term, anyway. Maybe in time, but
Yeah, in time.
certainly
Yeah,
not the short term. Yeah, definitely not.
because I've seen a statistic there that Liverpool's regular starting 11 now, um, every single one of them is different from his very first team that he selected at Liverpool. Not one player from his first 11 has survived. But obviously, that's taken, when was that? 6.5 years ago. So obviously, it takes a lot of time to get to that point. Hopefully, we'll do it a lot sooner than that because we've got so much work to do with this squad.
I
Um,
hope so.
yeah, so I've been watching videos recently of Ajax's best team goals under Ten Hag over the last 5 years or so, and it's basically it's a lot of tiki taka. I think some people call it vertical tiki taka. A lot of passing and moving. And one player who was there to finish off a lot of those moves was Donny van der Beek, who just seemed he was at Ajax under Ten Hag was lethal in front of goal. Um, Hopefully Donny can get back to being that player that he was at Ajax, and we want to really see him produce at United. I think a lot of the fans kind of feel sorry for them for Donny, don't they? Because it's not that he was playing badly; he just wasn't given an opportunity. And he was getting coming on as a sub with 5 minutes to go, or he was starting games and then been taken off at half time because of a red card or something. He just couldn't get going. I think he was, in terms of Solskjaer's priority signings, he was well down the list. He wasn't even first or second choice, and he had to make do because of the pandemic window that we were in. And he was available. Jack Grealish wasn't available, and somebody else wasn't available. But clearly, he didn't wasn't really sold on him. Ranić didn't seem to be really sold on him either. He ended up going out on loan in January, but like he's going to be with the coach now that made him the player that he is. So us as United fans are hoping that he can reproduce his Ajax form now next season.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think he's always had the ability, like you said, Kyle. I watched a few videos myself, and he's finished off plenty of those Ajax moves. Wonderful finisher of the ball. And he's done it once or twice for United, but hasn't been given many opportunities. I mean, I don't know. I know we talked a lot about Van de Beek, on the podcast over the last sort of year or two since he's been at United, and I at times said that I thought he was a victim of his own kind of um, not being a utility player, but kind of not having a strong, fixed position, where he stands out. But in some ways, I think that's kind of it's indicative in a sense of what United has been for the last kind of couple of years anyway, where we haven't really had a kind of a plan, and I'm going to say something a bit controversial here, but I hope you can understand what I'm saying from a football perspective. Is it, you can put up an argument that Paul Pogba in a different team, in a more functional unit, where players around him make up for his weaknesses and he complements those around him, can be outstanding as well. So, perhaps Van de Beek has been a victim of, just not fitting into what has been an extremely dysfunctional system. But you'd have to say that reflects not remotely poorly on him. It reflects badly on the rest of the team and the club. And that's hopefully will be the difference, is that when when Ten Hag gets enough time to build a functional unit, that players that complement each other, like say Klopp and Guardiola have done at Liverpool and City, that the Van de Beek can be an integral part of that, because that's what he was. He was more than just another number in the Ajax team. 100% he was integral, like you said. He was often the man in the end, finishing off all the moves. So hopefully, the system suits him better, and he gets more of a chance. Hope so.
He seemed to be a bit of a square peg in a round hole under Solskjaer and Ranić, and hopefully that will change now. I don't really like talking about Pogba. He's not going to be the future of the club. He'll be gone now. But you talked about him fitting into a team that's kind of built around him. Yes, that has been the case at France, but I think Mourinho made the point, which Pogba obviously didn't like, was that in a tournament situation when there's only six or seven games, Pogba will be focused. Whereas across like a 9 month season, Pogba tends to lose his focus. Um, that's basically what Mourinho said about him. Obviously, Pogba took exception to that. Um, so yeah, I think there's more to it with regards to Pogba. I don't think it's just a matter of he's at France, he has Conte alongside him and Matuidi alongside him and so on. I think it's a case of, I think it's psychological as well. I think um, a small tournament with only 7 games, and he's in a small knit group. They're all always in each other's company. He finds it easier to kind of focus and concentrate on his job, whereas he seems to be more distractions across a 9 month season. So I do think it's psychological as well.
No, no, and I completely agree. I mean, the analogy that I was making was less about kind of Pogba himself and more about the fact that the problems that I see at United are more about a dysfunctional unit. I mean, if you look at Van de Beek, for example, you could say, you look at the team that he came into. I mean, when a player comes into a team, you can't just take the player and say they performed this role in another team, they'll just do exactly the same for me, unless you know that that position and that role needs filled. And you could argue that when, like you said, a square peg in a round hole, when he came in, they had a round hole. They needed a certain job done, and Van de Beek wasn't the right person to ever do that job, which would again would make me question, as I have done this podcast before, who even bought Van de Beek, who asked for him, was it really Solskjaer? I'm not convinced that it was, but either way. Well, the fact that he never played would dictate that probably was the case. But Ralph Ranić maybe saw the same thing, not the detriment of Van de Beek, but he maybe looked at the team and said, "This is what I need. I need to say a really combative midfielder who's gonna, don't care what he does on the ball, just need someone to break up play because we're no good at that. Whatever, I'll throw Fred in there when everybody else is going. But sure, Van de Beek's a better footballer, but maybe it wasn't a better football that was needed. Maybe that when they saw the flaws being more defensive, to providing cover, say, for the centre backs, and they went, "This is why we need this, round peg, shall we say?" And Van de Beek maybe just wasn't that. So I guess that's more my point is that he didn't fit into the to what was needed at the time.
Yeah, I think Donny van der Beek's been brought up to play the Ajax way, to be a versatile player, and fitting into a certain system. Whereas take Solskjaer's Man United, it's basically a counter-attacking team. There's not much real kind of complex tactics or anything. It's a let's get numbers behind the ball, not concede, and then we'll use our pacey players on the break to score goals. It's
Pretty
it's
much.
much less complicated football than what we see at Ajax. Whereas now it's going to be the tactics are going to be very very detailed. The style of play it's all going to be very very detailed. And Donny will have a specific role within that team, like every other player. So yeah, it's a more complex kind of system than what was happening on the Solskjaer.
100%. No, absolutely agree. Yeah.
And I think you'll find this quite amusing. I know this came from the Times about Ten Hag. Obviously, more and more stories are going to come out every day. When Ten Hag's first request at Go Ahead Eagles when he was manager there was to change the door to his office. He wanted a door with a window pane in it. When the director asked why, Ten Hag replied, "So that everyone here gets to see how many hours I'm putting in."
I like that idea. I like that. I like that very much.
So he just he wanted to know wanted to know how hard he was working. Um, yeah, well, he's going to have his work cut out at Man United, isn't he? I seen someone made a joke the other day whenever it was officially announced that may God have mercy on his soul because they think that he's just got absolutely no chance of succeeding here because everybody who's came here to replace Fergie have just drowned under the pressure and the expectations. But we always live in hope, though. We're hoping that this is finally going to be the man. This is going to be, you know, Ferguson replaced Busby, and it took 26 years or something for that to happen. We're hoping that nearly a decade after Fergie's departure, that Ten Hag is going to be the man to replace him. But like we said earlier in the show, he has to be given a good 3 or 4 years to kind of make that happen.
Exactly. He's got a mammoth of a job. When you're talking about the hours that he might have to put in, I'm not sure it's even worth him buying a house in Manchester. He can just stay at the club all night every night because he's got that much work to do. He probably won't have any time for to go to sleep. No, I mean he's got an absolutely massive job on his hands. But like you said there, Kyle, I think the key really just is being given time and be given the right resources. I mean, we talk about expectation, but who does the expectation come from? I mean, everything I'm hearing with the fans right now are that they want to give him time. Yeah, okay, it's easy to say that. Maybe 2 years down the line, fans might get impatient and say, "Oh, well, I'm not seeing enough progress for my liking," and he maybe he's not the man either. It's time to go. I really hope that doesn't happen. But at the same time, you need to see progress, as we said under Solskjaer and stuff. You need to see progress, but um, he certainly comes with top pedigree, top quality tactics. Like you said, they're very complex football that his teams play. He's extremely well versed in the minutiae of football. So yeah, hopefully, given time and given the right backing and most importantly being allowed to get rid of people he doesn't suit him and get in people that do, then hopefully he will be successful. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much a modern coach as well, like Guardiola, Klopp, and Nagelsmann, and people like that. I think the clubs, the managers that we've had post Fergie, have been Moyes, very much of the old school Scott, just like Fergie, um, Van Hal of the old school as well, a '90s coach, Mourinho being the main man in the noughties, with his and very much a kind of a defensive style of play as well, and I think he came to United very much at the wrong time, kind of the back end of his career. I mean, look at him now; he's at Roma, and what are they like, fifth or sixth in Serie A? So we didn't really get Mourinho at his very best. And then Solskjaer is obviously he gets all his well. Obviously there was doubts over whether he was qualified for the job or not, but he certainly gets his managerial ideas from Ferguson. Again, is from of the old school. So yeah, Ten Hag is very much a modern coach, so it's something a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It is. It is. Um, no, it definitely is, Kyle. And if you look at all those managers, I guess you would say he's probably the most likely Van Hal for obvious reasons. Good man, Brush. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely a modern coach. He likes to play. What's the kind of the in thing? The ticky tack of football and playing out from the back, and goalkeeper who's a bit of a sweeper keeper and good with his feet, and all those things that seem to be kind of in vogue at the minute. I'm always have a doubt in my mind. What's right or wrong. There's no one way to play football. It's all about success, really, and it doesn't really matter how you get there in some ways. Although you like it to at least be kind of enjoyable to watch, but um, yeah, he's a modern coach in terms of tactics and philosophies and all that. But probably more importantly, what you alluded to earlier, he seems like a modern coach in terms of his kind of understanding of kind of modern society and the modern player and how you can manage the modern player, and that in some ways is arguably the most important thing. And that's where I would say that perhaps Mourinho maybe falls down a little. I don't think Mourinho. I mean, tactically, I would say Mourinho is as good as anybody in the world. I don't think he ever lost it tactically. I think that maybe he lost his way, man management wise. He lost the tolerance for the young player, and he wanted to. If they weren't doing what he wanted, rather than having a different approach, he just seemed to want to call them out and humiliate them in front of the media, and that's not really ever going to work. And that's ultimately why everybody wanted to see him go United, but not because of what he was doing on the pitch, but more how he was how he was acting off it. And so in that way, is what I like about Ten Hag. Like I say, I think he's more the modern mindset of how you work with these players, and hopefully that means that he gets the best out of them, and that's really what we all want to see. So yeah, definitely a move in the right direction, a move in kind of moving forward. Yeah.
So yeah, we're not even thinking about trophies for the foreseeable future. All I want to see is a team who's playing attacking football. 11 players are giving it their absolute all. There's nobody down in tools. I just want to have a team next season that I actually like, because I'm being honest, I dislike this United team. Apart from one or two individuals, who that's obvious who they are, De Gea, Ronaldo, and Varane, etc. Um, Most of this United team, I just have no time for them anymore. They do not, they just don't care to actually go to away to your greatest rivals and just capitulate and give up is just not my idea of a United team at all. So next season, all I'm asking for is to be entertained and to watch a team who's giving it absolutely everything on the pitch, and then we'll take it from there.
100%. And the thing is, the two things are cyclical, Kyle. At this level of football, when you've got the ability that some of the players at United have, if you give 100%, you're going to get results. So the two things follow each other. You give 100%, you will, if you're a good player, which they are, you will come out on top of many teams and you will win games, and that's all everybody wants. So the two things complement each other. It's not like we're going to have to settle for effort and no results. If we see the effort, we'll get the results and we'll be entertained. So, yeah, if we can start just wanting to play a game for the shirt and the privilege of playing for the club, then hopefully the results will naturally just follow.
Yeah, and we have to accept there's going to be bumps along the way. I would say I would anticipate next season what we're going to see is we're going to win games maybe 4 or 5-0. We're going to draw games 4 each, and we're going to lose games 2 or 3-0. But we just gotta accept there's going to be bumps along the way, and we just, as long as it's entertaining, we can see we're making progress, and the team is giving their all. Then and we feel as if we're going in the right direction. Then even if we finish fifth on the table, I say we stick with this guy and stick with him for the long term.
110%. Like I said earlier, yeah, I would take fifth on the table all day long. If I see a happy squad of players who look like they're working together, they genuinely look like they like each other. They look like they're actually trying to perform, and they appreciate the fans, and they seem like they really are giving their all. that will be a great start. Somebody mentioned something the other day. I can't remember who it was. I was seeing something they were talking about. Maybe it was yourself, Kyle, about United teams. In the 80s and stuff. Whenever we were winning nothing, and we even got, what we got relegated. What was the late 70s? But people still have favorite players from those eras. And they're not their favorite players because they won a Ballon d'Or or because they won a European Cup or a one league. They're the favorite players because they like the way they carried themselves. They like what they stood for. They like the effort they gave, and they had ability in and of themselves, even if the team as a whole wasn't, setting the world alight. So, um, I don't think United fans are that, spoiled, that we just want to win trophies and absolutely nothing else. It's not like that. United fans who really love the club just want the players to kind of have a bit of that love for the club as well, and just, go out and give their all and see it as a privilege to be there. And I would take that, if Ten Hag can restore that and show a little bit of progress towards becoming a team that will contend along the way. I mean, I would think that's a successful season for me. So yeah, I think that's what we want to see. That's the minimum, in my opinion.
Of course, no manager coming in guarantees success, but I think it was Samuel Luckhurst who said that one thing that Ten Hag would probably bring is a return to the Tommy Docherty era, at least, where there wasn't anything in terms of trophies. Didn't win anything other than the FA Cup, but the football was like what's in Brazil. It was, I mean, the fans couldn't wait to go to Old Trafford every second week at 3 o'clock to watch the Reds play because they knew they were going to be entertained. And at the very least, we're anticipating that Ten Hag is going to bring us back to that era.
And that would be great. And like I say, I would, yeah, eventually we'll want to start challenging and winning some silverware. But yeah, that would be a massive improvement on what we're seeing right now. And I would, I think most United fans, would be happy with that. I know I certainly would be. I think it would be great to see. It'd be a great starting point.
Okay, I'm not anticipating anything more than fourth next season. And for me, that would just be a good starting point for Ten Hag. But like I say, if we finish fifth or sixth, I would but we look like we're making progress, then I would stick with him. That's not getting patient because we're out of the Champions League and there's going to be a cut to the Adidas money and all this kind of nonsense. If we want to be a successful team, we can't keep chopping and changing managers. I think this guy has got something about him, and I think if we're showing signs of progress, we need to stick with him. No matter if we finish outside the top four next season, I think we should just stick with him. But hopefully, we do finish fourth, and we can take it from there. And it would be brilliant if the road back to the top wasn't a particularly long one, that it was only 2 or 3 years. But if it takes 4 or 5, then I'm still on board.
Yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, exactly, Kyle. I mean, I won't be surprised if it takes a few more years. It certainly takes time to implement. Um, these a kind of a style of play. It's going to take time for him to embed his philosophy, so to speak, into the club and change the culture of the club. Um, so yeah, absolutely. I won't be surprised if it's going to take a couple of years for us to be kind of challenging for trophies again. Yeah, see Budrigar saying there, funny feeling we could win the FA Cup. Yeah, yeah, you never know. I mean, we've got quality in the team. It's not like we're kind of relegation fodder. We're just in a bit of a bad place. There is certainly potential that next year, yeah, we may not be able to win a marathon, as in the league, but maybe we could win a little bit of a sprint, win a few one-off games in an FA Cup, and you never know what can happen. Yeah, there's a good chance maybe we might win the FA Cup or something. That would be that would be a successful season, for sure. But yeah, like I say, overall, I think he's going to need time, and I think it might take a few years. And the interesting question that I have, Kyle, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, is as fans, if we're saying, okay, say we don't finish out in the Champions League spots this year, which is obviously nothing at all to do with Ten Hag, but it's what happens. But obviously, commercially for the club and stuff, that's going to be a drop in revenue. If Ten Hag then has, say, 2 seasons where we don't finish in the Champions League places, fans might say, well, he's building something. We're willing to give him another year or two. But would the club, if they're 3 years out of the Champions League, would they give him time? Even though one of those years is not his fault, would they say, no, that's unacceptable? And I think that's an interesting question, is what we think, will that match up with what the club hierarchy thinks?
No, Because I think that he could be in danger if he doesn't finish fourth next season. Because I think if United are out of the Champions League 2 seasons running, then the Adidas money gets cut by 25%. So uh, I think the decision will be purely financial. So I think he's under pressure from the get go. But I mean, the fans would be furious if they were happy with the football they're seeing, even though United finished fifth, and they think United's going somewhere, and the board step in and sack him because they didn't finish fourth. You can only imagine the backlash against the owners. Will go up another few levels.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Um, yeah, I mean, I suppose thinking about it from from Ferguson retired, so for every manager we've had so far, I don't know if there's one. The only one who I can think of that was probably sacked that slightly surprised people a little bit, although they weren't annoyed about the time, was Van Gaal. Maybe because he actually just won the FA Cup and he wasn't an amazing season, but he wasn't horrendous. Um, and he was replaced, but everybody thought Mourinho was an upgrade, and yet the style of football was very boring. So maybe that's why people were kind of happy enough. So yeah, you're right. It is a good point. Okay, it would be interesting to see how that it would go down if a manager who was actually really popular among the fans was sacked, where the commercial and the fans' perspective weren't tallying up like they kind of coincidentally have in some ways over the last sort of 9 or 10 years. It'd be interesting to see, yeah, how that would go down.
Yeah, there hasn't been a manager so far that is finished outside of the Champions League spots, and the fans were still happy with that manager. Every manager who's finished outside of the Champions League spots has been sacked.
Mm,
But the fans were happy enough to go along with it because they weren't happy with what they were seeing. So it'll be
exactly.
interesting to see if we were in a situation where Ten Hag is making progress but not finishing fourth. How will the club view that if he's still popular among the supporters?
Yeah.
But hopefully it doesn't come to that, and we can get back into the Champions League as soon as possible.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, we all want similar things to a point. That as the club wants for very different reasons. But for at least we all want to see Champions League football, of course. But like I say, yeah, different that the fans might be happy to put up a couple of years without it if it was for the greater good. Whereas, yeah, as you say, Kai, the club probably wouldn't, and that's where we might differ. Um, which brings me on to just something that I do want to slightly mention is that I noticed that there's some fans groups are still going ahead with protests. I think against the owners and against the hierarchy of the club, regardless of the good news this week. So it'll be interesting, yeah, again to see how that pans out. In the future, will that eventually die down, or will they, or will that continue? Yeah.
And Budgie says, "I hope we see intelligent football under Ten Hag." Well, that's what we were talking about earlier on. We're going to see a lot more complex coaching now compared to the other year, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we're bound to. I mean, everything that I've seen so far about Ten Hag, excuse me, is that his football is exactly that intelligent. It's the words you used, I think, Kai, was complex. Yeah, so it's football that's based on players' positions and the positions with the ball, positions without the ball. I think Ten Hag seems to be the kind of coach who, like a lot of these managers, modern managers, loves it when the system works well and you have a team goal where there's like 25 passes and the other team doesn't get a touch, and as opposed to somebody who's gonna, curl it with a free kick into the top corner. Not that he's not going to enjoy that, but I think his philosophy or his way of looking at it is he enjoys the complex tactical kind of football. So yeah, I guess yeah, intelligent football I think is what he will be trying to implement. So hopefully, yep, we can see some of that. It would be nice to watch.
You didn't see on Sky Sports News earlier on. I think Ten Hag was arriving at the Ajax training ground, and I think he was doing a selfie with a couple of supporters. And the Sky Sports reporter Gary Cotterill was there and tried to shove the microphone in his face to say, "Congratulations, Eric, on getting the Manchester United job." And he went and then just drove on. Gary Cotterill was snubbed there by Ten Hag, and I'm not surprised because Ajax made it clear that we our season is still ongoing. We've still got the title to win, and Eric's focus is going to be solely on that. So I'm not surprised he's not going to entertain a British journalist coming over to talk about Man United because that will happen in time, but not now. They've still got 4 or 5 games to play in the league. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to his opening press conference. When a new United manager comes to town, biggest club in the world and all that. and the manager's doing his very first press conference, and there's like 150 journalists in the room, cameras all around. The world is watching. No, I'm really looking forward to that very first press conference. I can imagine it's probably going to come around the end of May or so. So I'll be glued to my screen whenever that's on.
Same. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I can't wait. And you're right. I mean, if anything, Ten Hag went up slightly in my eyes whenever he snubbed the Sky Sports journalist. Not because he was snubbing the journalist, but just because it was showing that he's dedicated to the job in hand, and he's not, even though his head's been turned and he's come to United. Yeah, proper professional behaviour, as Budgie says there. And focus on the job at hand, not being distracted, giving 100% to what's in front of him, and that's what we'll want to see when he comes to Man United. So I would be worried if I didn't see it in his current post. You'd be deluded to think that if he doesn't do it there, he's going to do it. He's going to do it for us. But yeah, showing all the right things, dedication, professionalism. So yeah, that seems to be more of what's ahead. But as you say, can't wait for that first press conference. I can't wait for the first game. I can't wait to see what the summer of having the players. For once we've got it right. We've got a guy done really early. He's going to be there day one, first day of preseason. He's going to be there, and there's going to be none of this. Oh, we didn't get the preparation time, so I can't wait to see what he is able to implement in that short period of time, and how the players look. And how the team set up that for that first game of the season will be really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that is a sign of progress that United have their manager in place in April for next season. That is something that Bayern or City would do, and we're never usually that organised. I mean, even David Moyes started on July the 1st because they wouldn't buy him out of his contract. Van Gaal Van Gaal managed in the World Cup before starting at United in mid July, so we've finally got this sorted in April. Finally done some early business, and hopefully, in terms of the players coming in as well, we can get business done early rather than in August, as it usually is the case during the Ed Woodward era.
Exactly, and also obviously that the fact that we have the manager done early provides stability, in terms of bringing players in, because it means see that ball Chester Darby. He actually looks a bit like him too. I saw a photo of Ten Hag the other day, and I actually thought at first it was Guardiola, and I had to do a double take. Oh, it's actually Ten Hag. I might get the two mixed up in the press conferences until they start talking. That is, um, but um, but yeah, I can't remember what I was saying there now. Made me laugh. Again,
Yeah, the Bolchester Derby, yeah, and
that's a good
be
one.
two of
That's
them
a
next
good.
season.
That's a good one, buddy. Um, but yeah, no. I completely lost my train. No, you've ruined it for me there, buddy. I've lost my train of thought. Now I can't remember what I'm going to say. No, no, I really have forgot. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
think s-
it's early business. That's what I was going to say. Sorry, it's early business, and it also means that players coming in know that they're not going. Will I or not? Will I not go to United? I don't know who I'm going to be managed by. They know that they're coming to my United. It's Erik Ten Hag. They know what they might expect. So, yeah, it just provides stability, and hopefully that will actually help us get players over the line who Ten Hag wants to see come in. Since we have that stable situation in place that we haven't had for a long time.
I think somebody else referred to him as 10 egg, in reference to his bald head as well, and so does
You're still obsessed with the baldness, Kyle.
yeah, Mitchell van der Gag has bald head as well. I mean, if Jaap Stam came in, we just have three eggheads sitting on the bench, so that would be a sight to behold.
You should keep Chris Armas as well then, and then we'll have four. United fans could shave their head and
Yeah, solidarity.
to show respect. Yeah, solidarity. We'll shave our heads. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you should make that part of the criteria now to be United coach. Yeah,
Absolutely. Seems to be the way to go.
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the Bolchester derbies now in the seasons to come. And I especially love them whenever we're beating them for a change rather than getting hammered in these games against Liverpool and Manchester City.
Nice
So
and
yeah,
simple.
we'll leave it there. It's been a fascinating chat as always. I hope everyone who joined us loved the show as well. And if you're new here, please subscribe to the podcast. Comment your thoughts down below and give us a wee like on the video. And I'll see you again, Chris.
Yep. Cheers, Kyle. Best of luck. Chat to you soon. Good man.